are you? Good to have you all here. Hi, Susie. Lucy, how are you? So, welcome. This is a briefing on the Global Employee Programme. Delighted that you can be with us today. We've got 70 people signed up, but as you know, because this is being recorded, a lot of people will take the recording when I send it out tomorrow. So if for any reason you do have to jump onto a call or take an email, you won't miss out. I'll make sure that you're sent the recording when I get it edited tomorrow. Hi, Jeremy. Hi, Javier. So this session, we're just going to look at what the Global Employee Programme is, how it got started, and talk to three people who've been very influential in its beginnings and who've been on various sides of the way this programme works. And we're going to go through that during the seminar. But to begin, let me ask my three brilliant panelists if they would just like to introduce themselves. Edith, can I start with you?
Oh, hi. Hello, everybody. So I'm delighted to be here. Edith McAllister, the Director of Marketing of Interrelocation, and I'm happy to say that I was one of the first candidates. And on the top of that, the brain or behind it, Marcus, hosted me back then in 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Fantastic. Thank you, Edith. And thank you very much indeed for joining us. And just as a side note, a summary of Edith's experience on the programme is actually in the last edition of the European, and I'll put the link in the chat box before I forget. Or if I don't, I'll put it in with the email I send you tomorrow. Marcus, great to have you with us. How would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I'm Marcus from Blue Global Relocation in Munich, and I'm the owner.
Thank you very much, Marcus. You are indeed. And
on point. Yeah.
Good, very good. And Rohit, great to see you. How are you?
Very well, Dom. Thank you so much for having me here. And for your listeners, my name is Rohit, and I'm a co-founder of Icon Relocation, and it's a DSP based out of India. And I've been here in this industry probably longer than the dinosaurs existed. So most of you should actually know me. But yeah, and just so that you know, the reason I'm here is because when Marcus came up with this fantastic idea way back, I think around Munich, it was a Munich EuRA, I think, or somewhere close to that. And that was the time when I kind of helped him midwife it. And I'm so happy that it has reached this state where it's going to be formally organized, and very, very pleased to see that.
Thanks, Rohit. It's great to see you. Just talking of dinosaurs, sorry, Tad, I know you're in the audience, but I think you're the original one, so there we go. Marcus, can I begin with you? So it's a really innovative program. You came up with this. Can you talk us through how you came up with this and what your intention behind it was?
Well, actually, it was not my idea. There was a point in time when a colleague of Blue asked me for an internship somewhere on this planet for 1 or 2 weeks. And I said to her, well, I have no idea, it doesn't exist, but let me reach out to a couple of friends across the globe. And so I reached out to 4 or 5 people, and one of it was, for example, Stuart, and the other one was Rohit, and they agreed within, I don't know, 2 minutes that exchanging of people would be a great idea. And I deeply believe in the development of people and to invest in people. And therefore, then the idea popped up that we maybe put it on a different level to make it a little bit more formal. And so the idea of the Global Employee Program was born. And so we identified a candidate. As the initial idea giver was not able to go due to health reasons. And so we had identified a new candidate, Katrin, and we decided that she will go to India for 2 weeks. And that was the start.
I think it's really interesting from what you're saying that, again, it's our industry where people, those long-standing relationships, you can just reach out to people. This is why this program is so exciting, because in many industries it just wouldn't work. There's too much maybe perceived competition, or people maybe keeping their ideas closer to their chests. And I mean, Edith, from your point of view, as the candidate, you know, you're in a great position to go learn, but you're also in a great position to go educate. How was your experience?
Well, it was yeah, I think I could give, but I received a lot too. So like it was a two-way street. So I'm not a relocation professional. I'm a marketing professional who specialized on global mobility marketing, relocation marketing. And I was surprised that I was asked to go to Munich.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a bit baffled, like, okay, what am I going to do? So I'm not at the operations side.
Right.
And as it turned out, Marcus, but correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm mistaken, but those are my experiences. So as it turned out, they need somebody who's not coming from the operations side,
Yeah.
who looks at their work from a different perspective. And but on the other hand, because I specialized to relocation marketing, I learned a lot from a different work culture. I learned a lot from a different people, different vibe, different team. So I learned a lot, actually, even though they didn't really have a dedicated marketing person at that very moment when I was there. But still, I gained ideas. I looked into the operations side, so I saw how they think. I experienced a different mindset. So that was very mind-blowing for me.
That's really interesting, because again, one of the amazing things about a program like this is that, you know, you're able to really see the kind of intercultural differences between how we do business, how we market ourselves. I mean, did you see that from your point of view? You know, was there a different experience of marketing in Germany than perhaps there is, you know, in the markets which you operate in?
It was interesting, yes and no. Again, I mean, relocation is a very international business.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, not really. But on the other hand, it came from the vibe of Marcus's team, actually. So not specifically the marketing itself. It's the different mindset they had.
That's what I thought.
It was very vibrant, very inspiring, because if you just experience, even though if you work from home, then you can't experience this human vibe. And for a creative person like me, I need this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get it.
So the way they were thinking, the way they were inspiring me, and during our lovely conversations, I saw the mindset that was key for me.
And again, it's very interesting, because I looked at, you know, obviously I've known both of your companies for a long time, and you both have extremely strong, you know, marketing, branding, identity. I mean, from that point of view, Marcus, was that, having Edit there, did that reinforce, yes, we're doing all this correctly, and in fact we've learned more, and we're teaching as well?
Well, first of all, thanks for all the flowers and to Edith. Very, very kind words. Well, we also benefited absolutely. Edith had amazing ideas. We had amazing talks, and she mentioned a couple of points we had to look at, and so we changed a couple of things. And as a consequence, we really developed a real business development team. Which is we now have 4 people in business development, and this is maybe caused, one of the initial things was the talks with Edith, of course, and especially her point of view was, well, if you have someone external, you always learn. If you listen and not only talk, you have to listen, then you can really learn a lot, and therefore we benefit absolutely from her time in Munich.
Yeah, it's a great program. Rohit, I'd love to come to you again. So you acted as host, and so how did that? First of all, what were the kind of, if I can, I mean, we're going to talk about this in a minute. I'm going to bring up a slide, but what were the kind of the first practical things that you needed to think about? I mean, there's a lot of moving parts in a program like this.
Oh, absolutely. I think the only thing common between the German culture and the Indian culture is probably we pronounce as we write. Other than that, absolutely zero commonality. Okay.
Yeah.
So if Germans are too prompt, Indians don't, I mean, time doesn't manage Indians. Indians manage times. So there's one example. So, I was a bit concerned with this. And of course, Delhi, she was coming into Delhi. There's a whole issue of pollution, and security has always been talked about, or lack of security for that matter, especially for women. And so all those factors had to be borne in mind before, I could host Marcus's colleague here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we quickly put that all together. I ensured that there was someone. So first of all, we ensured that she stayed close to office, not too far. So if she was ever to come into office on her own, it was easy for her to do so as soon as she's oriented herself. Public transportation is easily available to her. She stays in a place which is absolutely secure. There's no risk. She was a young girl, and we had to be careful there. Also ensured that someone from the office stayed close to where she was staying, so that if there was ever an issue, then he or she could hop across and be with her. And also wherever possible, bring her into office and give her a lift. So all that worked out extremely well, I must say. And Katrina is her name, and she had a ball of a time. I think the only disruption was that I think 3 days before her internship actually finished, India and Pakistan nearly went to war, and and Marcus had to kind of jettison her out of India 3 days before her internship actually ended. So that was quite dramatic too.
Wow, you're not kidding. But again, I mean, that's one of those things that, as relocation professionals, you're hyper aware of that kind of thing. I mean, you're doing it for your clients the whole time. So in a way, again, one of the great things about a program like this in this industry is how responsive everybody is to those kind of issues. A couple of things that have just come up in the chat box. And please, anybody, put a note in the chat box at any time. The more of an open dialogue this is, the better these sessions always are for everybody. So first of all, Susie asked, Edit, your internship was for 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then as a counterpoint, Dana has asked, do you think that a visit for 3 to 4 days is enough? As small companies like us can't necessarily afford to cover 2 weeks, even when the value is high. Marcus, do you want to come back on that?
Well, Dana, thanks for the question. Well, I think it's absolutely doable. You will also benefit from 1 or 2 days. Therefore, well, the idea of the program is that we are just a platform, and you can look for a student on the platform, or you can offer a student on the platform, and then you can agree with the host or with the host company whatever you want. And I think it makes absolutely sense. Even I think it's better to stay a little bit longer, but if you can't afford more, that's absolutely fine.
That brings me to a very interesting point. Thanks, Marcus. Can you just, the web address is?
Global hyphen.
Yeah. Employee, I had it on my thing.
.com.
Barry, thank you very much for your question. That was actually a very neat segue into what I was going to talk about next. So thank you. Who bore the cost of the internship assignment, both salary benefit costs as well as the relocation travel costs, home or host companies? So Marcus had a very, and Rohit had worked this out very carefully, and we've just come up with a slide. So just to give you a bit of background to this, we're currently in the development of a MIM module in the academy, which will put all of this in place so that anybody can just go to that as a single resource, and we'll have interviews with all of these 3 brilliant people here, but also outlines for the report, which we'll talk about at the end, that needs to be submitted by the candidate so that we can then award a Global Employee Program certification. So I'm just going to do a share screen, and annoying quirk of Zoom, it will take up your entire screen. When it does that, just press escape and it will bring it back down into this window. So this is the, I don't know, the vector diagram, Venn diagram that we've come up with to address exactly what Barry's asking about. So we've got 3 main, big protagonists: the sending organization, the host organization, and the individual. So here you can see the sending organization covers travel fare, insurance, departure, pre-departure training, salary, setting the learning goals, and obviously choosing the candidate. The host organization covers the accommodation and fee for the stay, the immigration, clearly important, depending on, I mean, it depends where you're going. Obviously, you know all of that much better than I do. Technology access to systems, onboarding, schedule for the duration of the internship. So again, coming back to Dana's point, how long that's going to be. And I mean, you know, that was a very interesting point. Short things, you know, can work just as well, you know, if it's well handled. And then the responsibility of the individual getting to the host site office, which again, Rohit, you managed that so that that person was able to do that independently. Evidence of the work completed. So obviously that's going to also link back, and then post internships report summary, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then on the crossovers between sending and host, planning of the activities, and the exchange of company cultures. I think, you know, both Rohit and Marcus, you made that point that, you know, you're going into different cultures and it's useful to know, you know, in advance, but obviously it's really something that's going to happen on site, to be honest. And then between the individual and the host, the length of the stay, coming back to Dana's point, the candidate selection, and then a risk assessment. And again, Rohit, you talked very eloquently about doing that risk assessment. And then between host and individual, the specific learning needs, and then between sending an individual, the learning goals, and why this candidate. So what I'll do is I'll send out that slide when I send out the recording to you all tomorrow. I must make myself a note to do that. So I'll stop sharing that for the time being, but as I say, I will send that out so that you have access to it. So I hope that answers some of those questions, because again, as you say, Barry, it's very important to know, you know, what responsibilities and costs sit where. And coming to that point, again, Marcus, I asked this before we went live, you know, do you want to talk about, you know, costs? And you said actually it was cost effective. Do you want to just mention that? Oh, sorry, I think you might be on mute.
No, here it is.
Okay,
sorry for that, my mistake, not yours. Well, I agreed with Rohit, or we both agreed that I will pay the airfare and he will take care of the temporary accommodation. And so my cost in total was, I don't know, 648 euros for the Lufthansa ticket. And that was it, more or less. Of course, I had to compensate. Someone had to cover Catherine's desk during her absence. Even she worked a little bit in this time.
Yeah.
But really, cash on the account was a cost of less than 1,000 euros. Which,
given the depth of that learning experience, is, you know, I mean, you know, you could pay 1,000 euros for a you know, a half-day training. So yeah,
of course, yeah,
really good. And obviously, Edit, different for you. You know, you're going from a, you know, to an expensive city. Things then, you know, do change, right?
Sure, but it depends where you go.
Yeah.
So if it's a transatlantic flight, it depends.
Absolutely.
But I wouldn't say it was painful. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, again, from your point of view, Rohit, that was easy for you to arrange, because obviously you sorted out all the host accommodation.
Yeah, so basically we identified paying guest accommodation, a homestay kind of a thing. So that was, I guess, about bed and breakfast, about $50 a night, or slightly less than that. So for 15 nights, so that comes out to approximately what, $250. That's for accommodation, bed and breakfast. And then, of course, during the time that she was here, we organized some stuff for her. For instance, I sent her off with my driver in my car to Agra. She went and saw the Taj Mahal. Didn't cost too much again. We didn't have to outsource it. At the same time, there was a Japanese girl also interning with me at the same time. Not from this program. So both the girls were together at the same time, approximately the same age. So they kind of got along well as well at the head company. And of course, you know, we have this culture of everybody brings food from home in the afternoon from their homes, and they all sit down and share their lunch. So Katrina was most welcome to, you know, dive into that. And so that kind of helped as well. Once or twice, we took her out for a drink and she enjoyed that too. So all in all, I would say, you know, under $700, $600, $700.
And for like a real cultural immersion like that, I mean, from the point of view of just the experience itself of Katrina, which is amazing, it's really it's so fantastic to see, you know, how a company culture works. I mean, as you said, Rohit, your company culture is heavily influenced by Indian culture, so therefore lunch is a very big communal shared part of the day. Whereas, you know, then I don't know how that works in Germany, Marcus. Was that something very different for Katrina?
Absolutely not. No, well, everybody is bringing food from home, of course, but we are not sharing it.
No.
That was really something she told. She always told us over many weeks. The kindness and yeah, the love in the team, that everybody shared everything with everybody. That was just amazing. Yeah.
Because again, it's one of those things that can be brought back. I mean, if it is exactly as you said, that when, you know, working from home and being in a team as a creative person, those are two very different experiences. And, you know, when here, you know, we bring our lunch from home, well, we're at home, but, you know, it's a sandwich tray desk. And I remember, you know, being at the offices of one of our colleagues in France, and not on an interview, just as a meeting. And lunch was a very important part of the day. It was a shared experience. You all sit down together. It's an hour. It's really good. Yeah. Barry, great question. Were there any complications around immigration based on this being an internship for a non-employee of the host location? Did you process a business visitor visa? How did that work? Rohit, can I ask you that?
Yeah, I think it was a business visa. She was coming for business purposes. I mean, there is no literally an internship visa for India unless it's a formal internship, you know, MNC internship, which is a 6 months or longer. It was a 15-day trip. It was like an observation trip anyway. So business visa worked very well.
And Marcus and Edith, I mean, from your point of view, going EU country to EU country, was that a simpler process? I'm assuming it was.
Actually, Dom, I must admit, I don't remember. I think it was that such complication-free process that I can't even recall. I don't think it was.
I think you just came.
Yeah,
just came. Yeah,
it's almost the
that was it.
It's like when you go into the US, for example, to go to a conference. You know, do you declare at immigration that you're going to a conference, or are you just there for meetings, or are you there for a holiday? I mean, it's fairly casual, I would think. Good question from Kennedy. And I don't know whether you would know the answer to this, or somebody else who's in the audience. For interns who come to the US for training, what visa type do you propose? I guess if you're being super compliant, it would need to be some sort of quite complex business visa.
I think it will be a simple B1, B2.
Right. Okay. There you go.
For the US as well, B1, B2 is sufficient.
Yeah. Thank you, Stuart has just said, yeah, from Germany to Budapest, we didn't complete any kind of immigration process. Edith was a visitor from one EU country to another. She was working remotely. There you go. Yeah, figures. That's, yeah. And then
that's why I don't remember.
There you go. Taken care of. Barry, thank you for that comment as well. Did you look into the potential tax consequences, particularly to the employee/intern, of costs being shared between home and host companies? Just thinking that for client STAs, the individual becomes tax resident from day one at host if the host company bears costs. There's a lot of compliance around this.
Oh, this is this girl Katrina. So if first of all, residency status doesn't kick in till you have stayed in a country for 6 months or more. So there's no question of a residency status. And she comes in here as a business visitor. As a host here, at least in my country, we can pay for their accommodation. I could very well have paid for a hotel and she would have stayed there. So it is a business expense written off by us. And there's absolutely, no implications of any residency status being acquired or tax being acquired. Yeah, this is okay. There's no problem. There could be some complications in some countries, but in our case, there wasn't any.
That is really interesting, because I'm just thinking about this, and Tad, you probably would know more about this being in the audience. But certainly in the UK, certain things can be seen as a benefit to your role and could potentially be taxed. Like, for example, the flight. There could be a tax element on that. But again, I would suggest if you're doing that, the UK is more complicated anyway because we're out of the EU, so let's just not even go there. So Gennady, thank you very much, says, Bennett, a B1 is okay for observation. It doesn't allow a visitor to work, but I would very strongly say that it would be, yeah, it would be for observation. Oh, Tad, not if it's for work, then that's not a taxable benefit. Okay, good. Phew, that's all very interesting. So what I'd like to do now, before we come back to the experiences, and again, please put any questions into the box, is we are working on being able to award a global employee program certificate. This is really the only part that EuRA will have in this, because obviously the agreements between Edit's company and Marcus's company and Rohit's company, those are direct agreements between those two organizations. EuRA has nothing to do with it. But what we do want to do is enable people like Edit, who've gone through the program in Katerina, to get credit for it from the EuRA Academy. So we're aiming to develop a certification program, and it's going to look like this. Very similar. It's built. This has been built by Carmeline and Lawton Smith, who unfortunately can't be in the session today, who's our strategic consultant for education. And this is based on the EuRA Academy Fellowship Program's case study, loosely based. We would ask for a 1,000-word report, summary report, written by the intern or the person who's gone through with these requirements. Sets the scene for the placement, the learning aims, how the decision was made, the person learning events, and you can see the aspects of the cross-cultural similarity, which is so fascinating that we were talking about, the conclusion, and then the publication standard. The standard of English writing is appropriate for publication, and the idea is that all of these would be published, by EuRA. It's not a criteria, but it's something that we're working on. So that document will form part of the module that will go into the academy. So coming back to, benefits, because again, Rohit, you brought that up when we were talking. We have we did talk about benefits when we were setting all of this up. From your point of view, the benefits from the point of view of you as a host, and the benefits from the point of view of Katerina, what were the key things you really took away from that?
For the host, I think it was an opportunity for my employees in our office to actually closely interact with a person from another culture. So as much as Katerina may have, taken back knowledge, her presence in India also gave knowledge to my employees. Many of them have not traveled overseas or have never, or very, especially like people who work in my accounting department, for instance. They don't even interact with the foreigners. There's a back office process for them. Similarly, the immigration team, they interact with them, but it's always a virtual process. So they never kind of end up meeting, their clients face to face, unless they go to their office, to wish them happy Diwali or something. Other than that, so it was a mutual benefit for us as well, for my team, because they were able to learn from Katerina a little bit about the Western culture and behavior. Because we see there are so many stereotypes, right? And and the movies that we watch don't help much either. So busting of these stereotypes, was very helpful by Katerina's presence here.
That is really interesting. And from the point of view of like the exchange of expertise, because obviously Katerina was in an operations role, were there things that she took back to you, Marcus, which were like, okay, that's, apart from all the cultural stuff that we've talked about, but were there things that she was able to incorporate into her role that changed how she did her job?
Well, Katrin was in immigration, and she dealt with 80% Indian customers. And so this was one of the reasons why we picked her.
Yeah.
And she came back and had a completely understanding, or more understanding for especially Indians and the Indian culture, and why, Roy just mentioned time doesn't matter in India. So she was more relaxed about it, and she learned a lot of a new style of communication with Indian customers. And she did then a little workshop with us in the company. So she told us a couple of things she had learned from work, and also about private life, and about the trip to Agra and so. So everybody benefited from her stay in India. And well, she came back very self-confident. She was, and especially, well, her experience with the Indian-Pakistani war at the horizon, it had an impact on her, and she's super self-confident now. And yeah, she came back as a very happy person.
And
Absolutely.
Ed, when you came back from being with Marcus's company, were there specific things that you thought, oh, this is great? I mean, I know we talked about that briefly before, but what would you say was like the thing that was a really positive takeaway for you?
Oh, I learned that German humor exists. So set the
we made it. Yes.
set the joke aside. From a global perspective, from a wider perspective, I think this program is very good for. I mean, it's a remedy against burnout, actually. So I learned that relocation is a tough thing to even exceed the expectations. I mean, you dealing with people and so on and so forth, and there are many details to be careful about, and it's very precise in a sense, but and so on and so forth. And from a marketing point of view, that's very similar, and it's very hard to market. So actually, if you could, it's just a very good breath of fresh air to look at the other company's culture, to be able to work with a different group of people. And I think nowadays burnout is quite a serious thing to consider. And I really highly recommend it, because not only you learn from another culture, you have this cultural exchange, but you develop as a person as well. So this is what I would say.
That's a great point about burnout. I mean, that's not something I really had thought about, but you're absolutely right. You know, we inhabit our roles, if we're lucky enough to have continuity within our jobs, for a very long time. And also it becomes, you know, we slightly develop tunnel vision a bit, maybe, about what we do. And that's what's so great. I mean, I was just trying to think in my mind, I don't have an analogy for this, but every time we go to someone else's conferences and you see how those organizations work, even if it's just from the outside, you come back with so many different opinions, ideas, how things can be done differently. So it's very energizing as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end of our agenda. Again, I'll just go through. So what are our next steps with this? Obviously the website's up and running. That is the conduit that Marcus has set up, whereby you can put, I want somebody to go on this program. You can do a variation of self-selection. So please do go and have a look at that. And then what we'll have by the beginning of 2024 is a module in the Academy. We'll send out all of the details about that. That will obviously be free to access, just to run through, again, a lot of the practicalities. And thank you, Barry, for being, really practical about this. This is what we need to, this is the next step that we've been working on for the last 6-7 months, is, what needs to be considered from every aspect, from the individual, from the host organization, from the sending organization, to the compliance over visa and immigration, all of those things which need to be worked out. And I mean, to be honest, I can't think of an industry that's going to handle a program like this better than ours, to be honest with you. Thank you, Javier. Very relevant point, Edit, on the burnout and the refreshing experiences. Completely agree. I guess when somebody goes around to another part of the world, they realize that the challenges everywhere are similar. However, every city or country works to find a different solution, and that is one of the learning which one carries back. That's brilliant, Javier. Thank you for that. It's absolutely true. Stuart, Interrelocation actually sent out 2 interns. Our Hungary GM being the other participant who went to Japan. Oh yes, I remember that. Relo Japan was the host. Beyond the other benefits the panel has shared, for me, this was an incredible way to reward key members of my team to a level that would not normally be possible for a very small investment. I had not considered that at all, but that's a brilliant point about incentivization. I mean, again, when you're talking about that, Rohit and Marcus, from the point of view of being a sending organization, is that something that you would look at when you're talking about candidate selection?
Absolutely. It's a great incentive and a huge motivation also for the team. And well, we just restarted the candidate selection, and we are now almost 40 people in the office, and I think I have 11 volunteers who wants to go as soon as possible. So great choice. And well, we all know each other. So all the people in the call, all the senior people, they go to conferences and they already have their network, but our people need a network and they need to be connected and to connect. And therefore, I think it's a great idea.
Also, besides the fact that it's a reward mechanism, it also reduces attrition. So
Yep.
there could be someone who you have sent out, and then they become more committed to your organization. A stronger bond is formed, and the person stays longer than they would have otherwise stayed in your organization. So it works both ways.
Fascinating thing. And actually, Susie, that was my next, very similar to my next question. So thanks, Susie, this question is, when you select your intern who will make the trip, do you also have the host company in on the interview selection process? Or do you choose?
I don't think this time we did that, Marcus. That was the first one that we did. Marcus selected the first one who didn't make it because she fell ill. So he selected a second one. And I think the third one finally came, if I remember correctly. Or the second one came, I don't know.
The second one. Yeah.
The second one came. But we weren't in, as a host, we weren't involved in that. And that's great because there's a little bit of suspense in what we're getting. We're happy with that.
And also, Marcus, from the point of view of the candidates that you've identified within Blue, do they say to you, I would really like to experience India, or is that more of a business decision based on the populations that you're working with most often? Well,
we popped out an email to everybody, just informing them, and whoever wants to volunteer, please give us a note. And well, some of them replied within 10 minutes. And well, currently we are selecting the people. Yeah, of course.
Excellent. And will they have a say in where they go, or will you?
Well, of course. Well, if they don't want to go to Mexico City, they will not go to Mexico City. And well, it's a question for well, they've never been to overseas, or maybe an insecure place for them, or they're not comfortable with whatever. Of course, they can choose, or they can well, I will make the final decision, but they can give her ideas. Let's call it this way.
Thank you.
Suggestions, yeah.
Question. Thank you, Stuart. I have a key question. The original program was suspended because of the pandemic. Since the pandemic, a lot of relocation companies do not have a traditional office setup. Does the panel have thoughts on how an intern visit would work if the host company were operating a hybrid office setup? Very good question.
It's a very good question. We thought about it, and well, our employees have to come to the office 2 days a week. And we already, well, agreed that it will be possible that we can guarantee that always someone is there to take care of the student, of course.
Yeah.
It's doable.
Yeah, for sure. That much I can see. And Rohit, same thing, are you 100% office-based?
Absolutely, 100% office based. We provide flexi hours, and there are times when if someone is construed to come to work, they can work from home. But there is a proper process in place as to when and how a person would work from home. It's acceptable, but coming to office is paramount.
It's very interesting. Eddie, you said that right at the beginning about the fact that you were coming from, doing a lot of remote work into a team, and that you found that really, positive and energizing in your role. That would have been if you'd come to do this in EuRA, you'd have been staying in our house. And that's a much more complex thing. So if you are a completely remote organization, I would say that would take some more working out, wouldn't you, Eda? Be kind of quite personal.
I think a personal connection is pretty much key. Because I was lucky enough to go in this very peaceful period of time, and I think it really matters. Really matters. I think it's better than a conference, because the conferences are really intense.
So many people.
Obviously, really tiring, and then you have time to just look at the city where you're in. So it's a kind of normal work day or normal work times, but also you focus on the new team you just met, and it's like you're just starting to open up. But I think it's very, very important to exactly meet people each and every single day. Mostly.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a smaller environment, like you say, to do that at conference is a totally different experience.
Very, yeah. They could give you brilliant ideas and absolutely brilliant for networking. It's not about that. It's more about, you know, good connections, friendship, networking in a kind of a friendly manner, rather than based on, you know, tough business decisions and tough business interests. It's more relaxing in a sense. It's less stressful.
Fantastic. Does anybody else have any comments that they would like to make or questions that they would like to ask our esteemed panel? I think this has the potential to be such a great way of really, you know, energizing our industry and the real true exchange of ideas. Rohit, can I come back to you?
So when I was in the US last week, there were at least 2 organizations who spoke to me of an exchange program, and this is, you know, just before this. So you know, because Ria, my daughter, might be coming and working with the company, so there were some people who stepped up and said, "Why don't you send her over to the US? She can work with us 15 days here, and we can send someone to India. She can, and also I think from Spain as well. I think it was Christina who kind of, you know, made that suggestion. Christine who made that suggestion, and so it kind of started off very well. So with a formalized program like this, then they get benefit of the MIM points as well. So clearly there is a need there, clearly, because it was very visible to me in my face when I was there. I have a need now, because if Ria was to come on board, I would like her to, you know, get a very quick start and hit the ground running. And the best way to do that is to go around the world and you know, see for herself how things are being done.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. So if these so-called informal you know, programs can be actually channelized through your MIM program, then the candidates get even more benefits.
That's great. I mean, there's an actual tangible certification at the end to say that you've actually done something. You've really achieved something. Because, like you said, I think, Eddie, you've made the point very eloquently that the experience of doing this is, you know, is quite, you know, it energizes you, prevents burnout, you know, gets you more engaged. If anybody else has any comments, please put them in the chat box. Otherwise, Marcus, big thanks to you for having the grain of the idea to set this all up in the first place and for setting up the website. As I said, it's there. The note is in the chat box, global-mobility.com. Any last comments that any of my brilliant panelists would like to just make? Rohit, please.
So when Katrina finished her program here, and, you know, when she started 15 days, I told her that at the end of 15 days, you will basically write down your experiences and put it on in a document and you submit it to me. So it was not going to be that, you know, you're going to come, see and go away. It's not a holiday. You're going to actually put down. So that was told to her right at the beginning. And around the time when her program was coming to an end, we were having some, you know, recordings in our office, and we actually got her on film on her experience of her stay in India at that time. So that was lucky because there was a camera crew in office, so we did that. Other than that, the document she wrote has been posted in a blog form. It's on our website as well. It's worth a read. She did a very good for someone who's German and who's probably not English is not her first language. Yeah. She wrote a fantastic article, and I would recommend everybody to go read her and see her and read her experiences.
That's great. I'll put the link. If you could send me the link to that, I will put it in the email that goes out. Edit.
Yeah, just only one thing, because Marcus and I had a really interesting conversation about the elephant in the room. So my part of my job is benchmarking. And I asked Marcus, what if you send your candidate to your competitor or vice versa? What's going to happen? So is it a problem? Is it not? Well, I would encourage everybody not to send his or her candidate to the competitor, but just to be relaxed about it, because it's a global program, sorry about that, global program, and it's for everybody. So let's just not ruin it by thinking about nasty things. It's for everybody.
That's very, very eloquent. Thank you, Edith, for that. Marcus, can I ask you to just sum up your journey in doing this? I mean, it has been it's been a great project so far, and it's going to go places.
Well, it was a great journey, and I'm very honored, and thank you very much to you, Dom, and the whole EuRA team to put it on a new level, because as I said, I truly believe in personal development, and it's a very good tool as an incentive to bonding people to your company. And well, it just started in a very small place, with a couple of people. Now it's getting bigger and bigger, and whatever I hear, the feedback from the host or home companies or the students, it's just amazing. And so I'm very positive that that it will become a even greater success as it already is.
Thank you, Marcus. Absolutely. And if anybody listening or anybody who's watching the recording afterwards wants to get going on this before we get this module in the academy with all of the explanations going, just please reach out to me by email, and I'll send you the documentation that we put together so far. That's the basically the framework, the rough framework that we've got about what needs to be thought about between host, sender, and individual, and some of the compliance issues that have come out in this session, which we're also going to seek to address. So thank you. Yeah, Marcus, please.
One little thing, I just wanted to mention that we do not earn any cent with it. So it's for free. We do not charge anything. It's just the idea to connecting people. So we are hosting the webpage, but there are no costs involved for the host or home company. I do not get anything out of it.
Thank you for pointing that out. I meant to say that and I forgot. And the same when we do the module, the explanatory module in the academy, there will be no charge for that. So look, thank you very much, Edith, Marcus, and Rohit. It's been a really interesting session. It's generated lots of really good questions, which again has actually moved us. I mean, Marcus and I are going to work with the team that are putting this together. So it's, we're going to meet in a couple of weeks. So it's really good that we've got, again, a few more ideas about things that we need to look at. So thank you to everybody who raised questions. Really, I can't thank you enough. It's been fascinating. It really brings it to life, being able to speak to the three of you. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Really appreciate everybody who has joined us today. Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for sharing this great initiative. That's very kind of you to say. And like I say, I will be in touch with everybody within EuRA with more details once this has been formalized. But for the time being, don't forget you can go straight to global-employee.com and find out more. And as soon as we get the explanatory module up, I will let you all know. Edith, Marcus, Rohit, thank you so much for taking part. And thank you very much, Barry, for your questions and comments. And great to see you guys. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.